All right. Why don't you tell us your name and a little something about yourself?
Well, Fred Wilsky, born in 1926, and we moved here in 1932. And when Dad was building the house, it was my job. I was 6 years old. Pull nails out of the old boards, straighten the nails, put them in the right barrels to be used again. Because the house was made out of used lumber and used nails.
Who designed the house?
I guess Dad did. It was just a square box, 2-story. And Dad took a $500 loan on his GI insurance and found a house in Lakeland that needed to be moved. And told him he'd move it. And he had a Model T Ford pickup truck and a trailer. And he dismantled the house and brought the lumber over here and built this house.
How long did it take? Do you remember?
No, I don't. I really have no conception of time when I was 6 years old.
Now, did you live here or did you travel out every day while the construction was going on?
Well, we lived down at Lutz on the highway. The house is no longer there, but it was a fairly large house. And I remember there was a great big mulberry tree in the yard. And it was right on the highway. And the railroad ran just the other side of the highway. And I remember the story Dad used to tell about one time the train that normally came by the same time every night didn't come by, and he woke up wanting to know what that noise was.
The noise of quiet, huh?
Yeah, the noise of quiet.
Now, what did your dad do at that time?
Well, Dad had to quit school in the 8th grade. His dad came down with stonecutter disease, which is TB, and Dad became a bricklayer. And he was a journeyman bricklayer by the time he was 16. But he loved sports and spent a lot of time at the YMCA. And he found that he could make as much money being a towel boy at the YMCA as he made bricklaying. So he became a towel boy. And then World War I came along, and when he became 18, he went in service. And while he was overseas, the physical director of the YMCA died. But the directors held the job open for this 18-year-old kid to come home from service to be athletic director or physical director. And so when he came home, why, they appointed him physical director, and one of the first things he did was attend a camp in North Carolina where Walter Naismith was the instructor. Now, Walter Naismith invented the game of basketball. They were already playing basketball in Tampa, but they were doing it out of a book. Nobody really knew the game. And when Dad came home, why, he was the only person in town that really knew the game, and he's physical director of the YMCA. So he formed teams and leagues to play, and Hillsborough High School came to him and asked him to coach their basketball team, which he did. And he took one team to the Amos Alonzo Stagg National Championship game in Chicago, or tournament. Well, they lost their first game to the eventual winners, but he had to be pretty successful to get there. And then while Hillsborough asked him to then become athletic director, head coach at Hillsborough High School. And he saw the need for a governing body to control high school athletics. And Florida State High School Athletic Association was formed, and he was elected unanimously by the other coaches in the state. Now, who ever heard of a state election where one person gets every vote? But he did. And he was elected the first president of the Florida State High School Athletic Association Coaches Conference. But a couple of months later, he was out of a job because Hillsborough wanted to become accredited. To be accredited, every teacher had to have a college education. He had an 8th grade education. So he was out of a job. And that's the story of why we wound up here in this house. My grandfather had bought this property in 1911. He contracted for 40 acres for $1,000. At so much down and so much a month, $10 down and $10 a month, I believe it was. But when he got here, he bought it sight unseen. When he got here and came out and looked at the property, he went back and made him reduce the price to $750 for that 1,000 acres because there was so much water on it. Now, Nola's got a piece of property for sale right here, 2 acres over there, and she wants almost, what, $100,000 an acre?
Yep.
So prices have changed a little bit.
And water is a plus, not a
Yeah.
minus these days.
Yeah, waterfront property is the reason that property is so valuable. But grandmother and granddad told mother and dad, can you turn that off?
Yeah.